All right, happy Tuesday afternoon to you all. I've been working from home today. I'm a little under the weather as my sniffles catch up with me here. I don't know, it's allergies. Ragweed is starting to get thick today, or over the last few days actually, and my sinuses are just going bonkers. I don't know if it's actual cold, like a summer cold, or if it's just the allergies. I'm hoping just allergies, but woo, buddy, am I snotting and sneezing. I hate that. Nothing worse than a summer cold, man. Yeah. Anyway, I've got to go down toward the Heights area, deliver some cables to a customer. I was there working on a computer yesterday, rebuilding a couple of machines, one for an accountant. You know, you gotta make sure you take care of the accountant because that's the one that pays you. And we swapped a computer, upgraded, and the new computer didn't have the same kind of computer or video outputs on the back of it, so we didn't have the cables we needed. So I had spares in my inventory at home, but not with me, so I'm going to run one out there, hook it up. That way she has her second monitor to be more effective at her job. Kind of a long way to go for a simple delivery, but you know, do what you got to do. It's hot, but it's fairly dry today, so the temperature doesn't feel as oppressive as it usually does. It's 98, I think, just under 100. We're supposed to get up to 100, 101 today, something like that. So it's going to get a little hotter than it is right now, but the humidity is very low. I'm guessing probably down in the 25 to 30% range, something like that. It feels really good for Houston. It's hot, don't get me wrong, but it's not sweat and collapse as soon as you step outside your house kind of hot. So I figured now is a good time. I'll run out, get this done before traffic gets real nasty. Head all the way in. It's about a, I don't know, 25-mile ride, something like that. I've got fuel, I'm good. Oh yeah, there's the temp, 97. It'll be about a 45 or 50 mile ride back and forth, but I can take the HOV and traffic should be fairly light, so hey, better than taking the truck and burning all kinds of fuel. And you know, my skin crawls when I think about commuting back and forth, doing my normal routine in the truck, car too, but especially a truck. I like that color, it looks good. You know, 15 to 18 miles to the gallon is what I'm getting out of that truck. It's just brutal, man. This thing isn't my most efficient commuter, but it still gets 45-ish, you know, give or take a little bit, depending on how fast I'm running. It'll get 50 plus on the highway if I'm running a steady 65. You know, if I keep the speeds under 70, it does pretty well. I think on a few of my extended road trips I've gotten 52. I think I might have gotten 54 out of one tank, but that was pretty rare occasion. And I was running ethanol free, as I recall. Ethanol free is a little bit more energy dense, so it's going to give you better economy, just slightly. It doesn't really offset the increase in cost though. So I'm hoping that when I get back, the temperature is still about what it is right now. I'm done with most of my work tasks for today. This is my last one, so I'm going to try to put the Ryker out in the middle of the driveway and do the pictures of all the accessories and finally list that thing for sale. I was hoping to do that over the weekend, but I got stuck doing other tasks. And if I don't get movement on it by this weekend, over the next handful of days, let's say, I'll probably go ahead and trade it or just sell straight to a dealer early next week, just to get it done. I want it out of my hair. It's been lingering on far too long, and I'm so OCD that if I don't get it done while it's fresh on my mind and, you know, sitting on the front burner, then it's gonna fall back into the background again, and it'll be another year before I decide to get around to it and sell that thing, and I'll have lost even more money on it. So no. if that were to happen, I would probably go ahead and invest in fixing the right side suspension and putting a steering damper on it and a handful of other things to try to finally solve that thing's problems. But I'd rather just sidestep it and move on to something else. So what I might do is put the cash deposit on the little Royal Enfield Hunter 350 to hold it. I've been shopping around. I've been doing a lot of research on that thing over the last week, and unfortunately the color that I want is not available. What I really like is the Dapper Grey. It's kind of a gunmetal gray. It's almost this color, probably a little bit lighter than this. And oh, that's just a water spot. I was like, oh, something chunked out my paint. It's almost this color, and it's got kind of red accents on it. It looks pretty good. So that's the one that I would prefer, but the closest one to me is in the Austin area, and I don't like that dealer up there in Austin. I found one up in Oklahoma City that wouldn't be bad. That I just have to consider the the drive time to go up there and back, and the fuel to go up there in the truck. And I could ride the bike back, but I'd rather not do a long extended highway run during the initial break-in. So I'll probably, if I go out of state to get it, I'll trailer it back or just put it in the back of the truck, whatever. But they're selling for MSRP. I need to check, get some out-the-door quotes for what it's going to cost. And if it's just not feasible, or if the money doesn't make sense, then I'll try this Iron Sports or Iron Power Sports back here in Katy that I was visiting just the other day, because they've got the light gray one, the Dapper Ash is what they call it. So Dapper Ash is the one that I saw there, and Dapper Grey is the one that I would like. But, it's just colors. The only difference between them is just the tank paint scheme, the wheel strip color, and the little decal on the side cover. Other than that, the bikes are all identical. Yeah, I was digging through those bikes. I was poring over it pretty carefully, looking at all the fit and finish and construction, and, little things that you might not notice at first glance, but those are actually very well constructed bikes. I'm pretty impressed. The welds aren't all that pretty, they're a little rough around the edges in some spots, but it seems like they've paid attention to details where it counts. For example, they've got stainless braided brake lines on those things, front and rear. Very nice, perfectly routed, out of the way. So they're not using rubber hoses on there like most manufacturers, including the Japanese bikes, like, this, Honda, Yamaha, all that. They put rubber lines on these things, which are kind of flexy. And something that most people don't consider is you're supposed to replace those lines every 4 to 6 years. It's even in the owner's manuals and the service schedule. You're supposed to check and replace the rubber lines, because they swell and they get brittle over time. So by putting stainless braided lines on there, Teflon coated on the outside, that's high quality stuff. I mean, that's like performance bike territory, racing kind of stuff. So they should last a really long time, probably as long as the bike is better. So I was pretty surprised at that. And where I see the Hunter fitting into my riding style and my commute duties and my riding chores, let's call it that, is as a really good commuter. It should be able to do highway speeds probably a little less than this. It should be able to do 65, 70 fairly comfortably. From what most of the reviewers that I've seen, they say it gets up to 60, 65 pretty good, and then above that it takes a while to pull, and you can get almost 80 miles an hour out of it, which is sufficient. I mean, I don't need to be running this fast all the time. And if you're riding nice, it's reputed to get somewhere around 80 to 90 miles to the gallon, so that's really good. I mean, even if it got 70 miles to the gallon, that'd be great. And the other thing that I see it kind of fitting into my repertoire is as a back road cruising bike. I really enjoy the Super Cub. Hey, bike, squirrel. I really enjoy the Super Cub for, you know, casual back road cruising and all that. And it would be ideal at that if it had just a couple more horsepower and double the fuel tank. So it needs at least a 2-gallon fuel tank for that. So you can really get out and enjoy the back roads without having that range anxiety of, I've only got 1 gallon of fuel, you know, where's the next gas station? And by the time you get out to a lot of those really good twisty roads, well, hell, you're already halfway through your fuel load, you know, 50 miles away. So it's not always a trivial thing to find a fuel station just every 5 miles or 10 miles when you're out there on those country roads. There might not be a fuel station for 30 miles, 40 miles. So definitely can create some range anxiety. And of course you can carry a fuel bottle or a fuel can or something with you, but still it's one more thing to keep in your head and complicates the ride. So that Royal Enfield with 17-inch front and rear cast wheels on it, that means you're running tubeless tires, and you've got access to a lot of really good street and touring rubber, you know, touring tires, sport touring tires, whatever. So I'd very likely slap a set of Michelin Road 6s on there, front and rear. I've heard kind of so-so things about those Seat tires, C-E-A-T, however you say that. Some people say they're okay, but I've heard a lot of the Indian reviewers say that they're pretty much slippery on any kind of pavement that's not perfectly smooth and dry. So that tells me they're not that great in the wet. So slap a set of Michelins on there and just ride the hell out of it. And the fuel economy on that thing, even if it's, you know, let's say 70 miles to the gallon, it's got a 3.4 gallon tank. So that's good long legs right there, man. And you're talking 250 miles plus back road cruising before you got to think about feeding it again. That's awesome. So it should make a decent little tourer as well. Put a decent windscreen on it, you know, something mid-high, not real big, but big enough that it blocks most of the wind of your torso. So I was looking at the accessories from Royal Enfield, and they've got a little fly screen similar to this one that goes on the front of it. It doesn't look like it's going to really provide much protection at all. You know, it's just more of an aesthetic touch and a fly screen for the gauge cluster. That's about all. So I'll probably get a National Cycle deflector, one of the universal 7/8 clamp-ons, and put on there, and I'll probably put some 1.5-inch bar risers on it to raise the bars up just a tiny bit, because it's a little bit of a sporty seating position, lean forward. Not bad, but for long cruises, you know, touring or whatever, sitting a little bit more upright would be good. So let's get some little bar risers and a decent windscreen and done. Strap a dry bag to the back seat, take off. If I get it, and my timing and my planning and everything works out over the next few months, I might do a cross-country trip with it. Just go out. If it's not too late in the year, I might be able to do a north-south trip, go all the way up to Canada border or something like that, go up to Minnesota, whatever, just go all the way up, go all the way back. I could do an east-west, but that's further, takes more time, obviously. And if I wanted to get all the way out to the west coast and then come back to the east coast or vice versa, then it's essentially double that to come back. So it adds a lot of miles to the trip. I don't know, it'd be fun. Let's get out, do some small bore touring. Okay, I've arrived. Took care of my work desk here real quick. Should be a quickie. and head on home before traffic gets worse. All right, off we go. Haha, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty soon I'll get my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picture. All right, so back on the road. My wife is cooking steaks today, braised in the oven. I'm not sure exactly how she's preparing them, but sure smelled good when I was leaving. So I'm gonna haul ass back home and have some lunch. To bleed my front brake, change out the fluid because it's getting a little squishy. I noticed it, I don't know, a few weeks back, and then it really wasn't much of a problem, but then now today it's feeling pretty squishy. So I got some air in the lines. It's time to reflush that fluid, flush it out. Ooh, it's toasty. I'm not noticing the idle hang problem yet today, but it's just right at 100 degrees. It seems like when it's over 100, 102, 103, that's where I've noticed it start happening, but it doesn't seem to be doing it right now, so I'm happy. Keep my eyes and ears peeled for the phenomena. And it may not do it again until next summer. You know, if the temperatures are dropping now, we might not have very many 102 plus degree days left. So I have to go back on my video and see if I've got the thermometer up when I'm noticing that it's doing that overrunning nonsense. I hear beep beep. Oh, there he was, on that side. Keep going, people, it's green. Keep going. Mike! T-Dub! He's busy. It's like he's having engine problems. He's sitting there messing with the shifter and hitting the start button. 100 degrees. It's hot. It's hot. Sitting still is even hotter. Yeah. The sign over there says 105 Fahrenheit. I don't know if you can see it. Tamales over there sound good. I don't know why. As I was passing by there, my brain, reptilian brain kicked in. I went, tamales. Need to go back over to Tracy's fajita. But today it's steak. Not sure what kind of steak my wife is cooking. I smelled a bunch of garlic and onions and something else. Smelled like a little hint of vinegar. And she was doing them in the oven, so that's going to be interesting. I'm hungry, and it ought to be ready. She was just putting it in the oven about, I don't know, about 15 minutes before I left, and that was about an hour ago, so it should still be warm, I hope. All right, home again, home again. I am going to eat and take a Theraflu. Something to knock down these allergies and the sinus congestion nonsense. Nothing like a nice home-cooked steak with a side of Theraflu, huh? Thanks for tagging along. I'll catch you for the next one.